All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our next session. And Tom, I'm going to pass this over to you.
Fantastic. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Bridget Beams. Some of you may know her, you may not know her, but Bridget is the Assistant Director for the Integrated Operations Division at DHS CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. And she leads the Integrated Operations Division that oversees CISA's physical and cyber activities across the United States. Bridget has a strong background in national preparedness, human capital, economic development. She's also skilled at solving problems between small business, nonprofits, and the state, local, tribal, territorial governments. In the past, Bridget has served at senior level positions in the Small Business Administration, FEMA, and as a consultant in private practice. She's also brings a lot of energy to this business for those of you that know her. So I'm really glad, Bridget, we're able to join us. So please help me welcome Bridget to the third annual National Resilience Virtual Summit. Bridget, welcome.
Great. Thanks so much, Tom. I'm thrilled to be here. I was riveted by the last conversation. Persia did a great job, and my team just met with Casey and his team yesterday. I'm here in New Orleans right now meeting with my Region 6 team, and kind of the theme of this meeting is all about partnerships. And so I was thrilled to hear that last session, and I just wanted to foot stomp everything they said. It's all about relationships. It's all about the boots on the ground. If we don't have the right boots, if we don't have the money to skill, train, and equip them, then we will not be successful. So just what a great panel already. You'll hear from another member of my team, Dana Ahrens, later today, former colleague, Marianne Tierney. It's a great conference. So congratulations. So a little bit about me. I am the Chief Integration Officer for CISA. And I just wanted to spend a little bit of time telling you a little bit about my office, what we do, how we're working with folks all across the nation, a little bit about CISA, where we're going, our new strategic plan, et cetera. So like I said, I'm the Chief Integration Officer for CISA, meaning I take everything that CISA does and I integrate it into hopefully a very cohesive strategic execution on the ground. I call IOD the heartbeat of CISA because we're really we're the connecting conduit, if you will, that unifies partner, state, local, tribal, territorial, public sector. Our role is really to be that connective tissue between and among all of them so that we do what was just talked about, communicate and share information. One of the key things we do is we run a 24/7/365 situational awareness, near real-time operational reporting, all source intelligence analysis, as well as developing operational responses. We also see CISA's continuity and readiness program. So, but as the Chief Integration Officer, I want to take a moment and really just talk to you a little bit about what's happening on the ground in our 10 regions, because this is really important. And we have spent the last year and a half driving unification at the regional level across our multiple disciplines. Because as you may or may not know, we have security advisors in very specific disciplines, which is cybersecurity, physical security, chemical, and emergency communications. And up until about a year ago, they were all very different and discrete disciplines. And what we're trying to do is really create a one CISA where there's knowledge and information that held by everybody, so that when we interact with somebody, we're bringing all that CISA has to bear. Clearly, cybersecurity specialists are going to have some SME capabilities that others won't, but to the greatest extent possible, we want to make sure that we are training all of our security advisors so that when we take the very valuable time of a stakeholder, we are bringing all that CISA has to bear. I'm super thrilled at the quality and the caliber of folks we are hiring in our regional offices all across the nation. And they really are well positioned to deliver those CISA services to our stakeholders. So the first thing is, what you may or may not know, but CISA is America's cyber defense agency. It is our mission to protect critical infrastructure from physical and cyber threats. In our 23 to 25 strategic plan, reducing this risk and building our nation's resilience is a national effort. It is absolutely the one goal that goes all across of CISA's organizations. And we are going to do that by bringing all of our expertise to bear. So, from cyber defenders for the public and private sector, physical security specialists, our chemical inspectors are doing a great job working with our entities across the nation that are handling very dangerous chemicals at certain levels. And our emergency comm staff is doing a great job working with the local 911s and making sure that we've got connectivity and we're protecting the system, the users, and the network that they reside on. So what we're trying to do is really look at that threat facing all of us to buy down that risk while building resilience. We have to know what that threat landscape is. And we're closely tracking the threat landscape, and it is changing all day, every day. And so we need folks on the ground who are seeing what's happening, working with stakeholders, working with SLTT partners to hear what's going on. What are you facing? What are you seeing? So that we can gather that information and make sense of it, if you will, and really figuring out, are we seeing a trend? Are we seeing, is it a one-off? Are there others that we need to warn? Early warning is a really important part of what we do. So if we see something happening, we can warn others in that discipline, in that sector, to be wary of a ransomware, of a malware, of some kind of bad cyber actor before they take hold in another entity's cyber system. So the bottom line is, and I, you can look at this a couple of ways. We know some bad things are going to happen. We just know that folks are out there and they are absolutely creative and finding ways to attack our systems, which makes our work so much more important, really building resilience into our networks, into our systems, into our products, and helping everybody from state, local, tribal, territorial, to private sector, to small businesses. We're all interconnected, and no one is immune from an attack. And so we want to build that resilience. And, you talked about the business community. They're key. They are a huge partner with CISA. We don't have, except in our chemical program, have regulatory authority. And so everything we do is through partnerships. The great information that we're getting from the private sector about what they're seeing is all voluntary. And it's all through those relationships that we build at the national level, but mostly at the state and local level. And so it's critically important that, as was talked about earlier, those relationships are built and maintained so that information can continue to flow back and forth. It makes us all just much more safer and more secure. We joke a lot. Our director, Jen Easterly, she's just a hot ticket, but we like to say that our superpower in IOD is really collaboration, right? And to really helps us prioritize urgent risks by hearing from people, working with them on what are they seeing, and then prioritizing our response efforts to help. In our role as the Cyber Defense Agency and the National Coordinator for Critical Infrastructure Security, we work with critical infrastructure owners, operators, partners every day. And so what we're really working on in 23 as our major goal is to better integrate the physical and the cyber security. It was fine a few years ago to look at them as separate disciplines, but there's not an entity anywhere where you don't have those vulnerabilities, both in the physical and the cyber. Anybody who has a card reader or cameras, smart technology in the building, you now have that married risk of physical and cyber. And what we're trying to do is work with stakeholders to help protect the whole of the entity by bringing the whole of CISA resources to bear. We've seen over the last couple of years that when any part of our economic sector is shut down for any length of time due to a technical failure, our economy is impacted. And we need to do everything we can to make sure that our organizations are safe and can continue. I mean, you just think about the FAA and the system that went down, and it grounded planes. Well, planes carry a lot more than just people, and so that really impacts an already crippled supply chain. And so all these things, if we could keep them operational and running through safe and effective cybersecurity measures, that's really important. And it's funny because I talk to a lot of people across the nation, and they think critical infrastructure, that doesn't impact me. but it does. And when you think about things like ATM machines, getting gas at the gas station, making sure that there's food at the grocery stores. All of this is interconnected to the work we do. And that's why we're so focused on strengthening the security of our systems that deliver these services every single day to the American people that depend on it every hour of every day. We have 3 focus areas for 2023 that the director has asked us to focus on, and it's water, wastewater, health, public health, K-12. And then the 4th one, which we spent extensive time on the early part of the year, was election security. What we're seeing is those 3 sectors are really being impacted on both the physical and the cyber side. And so we have a concerted effort to really work with those who need it the most at the local level, support and assistance in the physical and the cyber security realm. The last thing I just wanted to mention is, we've got 800 people across the nation working at the state and local level. We have LNOs with NORAD, NORTHCOM, FBI. We work with FEMA all day, every day, NSA, Secret Service. So we are continuing to collaborate with stakeholders all across the nation, public, private, academia, to really make sure that we are hearing from the folks on the ground who are being impacted, and then how do we respond accordingly, and to give skills and tools and resources so that people can be ever more self-sufficient in being secure from a cyber and a physical perspective. So it's great fun to work for CISA. It's never a dull moment. It is my great honor to lead the folks who work in the field and work every day with public, private sector stakeholders to make our nation more resilient and in both the physical and the cyber side. So Tom, that's just a brief kind of my thoughts on resilience and what we at CISA are doing. It's extensive. So that was just absolutely a high level thumbnail sketch, and I'd be happy to answer any questions, Tom, that your folks might have.
Okay, if you have a question for Ms. Bean, please go ahead and put it in the Q&A now. All right, we have a question here. Ms. Bean, how can we ensure people are secure in their online dealings when they do not have their own devices?
So it's funny that it's not funny, but this is the threat we see every single day. I don't know about you, but during the holiday season, I went into a store once. Everything else I did online. And the more you do that, the more feeds you get, the more advertisements you get, and really trying to figure out what's a valid site versus an invalid site. First and foremost, you want to make sure that things are, make sure that all of your software is patched. If it says time to update Microsoft or time to do this, that, or the other thing, take the time, patch your software. It's so critical, and it sounds so elementary, but one of the predominant ways bad actors get in is through unpatched software, a vulnerability that's been identified and has been remediated, unless of course you didn't update the software, and they get in, and then they can lay dormant, they can move horizontally. So patch your software. The other thing is use multi-factor authentication, right? Who you are and what you know, right? So two-factor, it's super easy to get, easy to install. And that is, there's studies out there that show that MFA can significantly reduce being hacked. So patching, multi-factor authentication, think before you click. Was just reading an article on the way in about an entity, a school district that was hacked, and a couple of the teachers clicked on it. They're getting very, very good at social phishing. About it looks so real, it looks so authentic, and they clicked and they got in, and they've taken down part of a school system and the administrative side. And so think before you click. So there's some really simple things that people should just do as good health. You're brushing your teeth, you should make sure your software is patched, right? So you're going to the doctor, you should make sure that you're using multi-factor authentication. And then the biggest thing is just think before you click, because they are smart and they know where you've gone. So they're feeding you things that look very familiar, and don't be fooled. Think before you click.
Very good. Thank you. Ms. Bean, you cover very different regions with very different problems, and the needs of your customers are all very different. How do you and your team approach that?
It is both an art and a science. I spend a lot of time out in the field. Right now, I'm in New Orleans, meeting with my team from Region 6, and I was, Region 9. It is really, we hire for skill set, right? We hire for functionality, to know cyber, to know physical security, to know chemical security, to know emergency comms. But what is equally important to us is to understand, to have the right fit into the team. And most of our employees were born or grew up in the areas that they're serving. So they know the culture, they know the challenges. And for those that are more of a transplant, we spend time in the community. The biggest thing we do is build relationships so that we begin to understand what's the culture of the community, what are the challenges in the community, what's an organic challenge that they've had for years, so that we know and we build those relationships so that we can work over time to help address them. But then if something bad happens, those relationships are built and we understand the impact, not just to them, but potentially the cascading impact. So we hire for both skill, but also a culture fit to make sure that it works in the communities that we're serving. We want our staff to reflect the communities we serve in every facet.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. There are a few more questions, but unfortunately we have to move on. Do you happen to have contact information that you can put in the chat for us, Ms. Bean? And just want to say thank you so much. I know you moved around your schedule to be here live for us, so we appreciate you so much.